if you were giving a birthday message to Mum on her 60th, what would it be?
You're going to be 60 and a granny in the same year. She's not fazed by it at all, though, I think. But, yeah, I thank you for all the great years that she's given us, and hopefully she's going to have many more. That sounds bad, actually. You haven't got many left.
I always think that she is very natural, and I once remember going up and being given an honorary doctorate by her, and just before she gave it to me, she said, "Love the hat." She said, she's one of those enormous velvet Henry VIII hats. She's got a great sense of humour, and I'm a huge admirer of hers.
She makes a great patron. She's very good at what she does, and she's a very busy woman as well. So I don't know where she finds the time for it, but she does.
She knows more about you than you know yourself, and she really does read up on things, and if something's said wrong, she'll put them right. So she really does do her homework on everybody.
She's very, she's very well briefed.
Princess Royal is a very powerful lady.
She certainly is.
When she's in an environment of family, friends, and this, that, and the other, she definitely relaxes a lot more and is great fun, and is always the one laughing the loudest, and sharing.
That's a good dance.
Yeah.
She's good on her feet.
Here we are in Buckingham Palace. What are your first memories of this place?
Well, that's an interesting question. Lessons, I imagine, just along the corridor there. I ought to say the coronation, but I'm not entirely sure that that's my memories or memories of having seen lots of pictures of it.
Prince Charles, Prince Anne, laughing, smiling, happy at this wonderful scene.
At what age do you think you thought, why am I being taught here, but everybody else, it seems to me, is being taught in a school? Did that ever occur to you?
No, because I don't think it was that unusual still to have governesses and, depending where you lived. So it probably wouldn't have been an issue. I mean, I volunteered to go to boarding school, but that was for slightly different reasons, probably.
Well, what reasons were they?
Well, it offered a completely different resistance, which I thought was quite an attractive one. It gets a bit intensive if you're here all the time.
You can say she grew up in a palace, but essentially it was, as country could get, I guess.
They had London, but then they also had Windsor. They did enough of both, I think, that she then wanted that, I guess, for us.
She always had the horses as well growing up, so she always had the space. Windsor's a fantastic place to ride around the Great Park and all the rest of it.
I mean, every teenager is trying to find an identity, and whether you're a member of the royal family or not, I assume it was a very similar situation for you. How much did you consciously or maybe subconsciously think that being a top horse rider, or at least a competitive horse rider, was a way of establishing your identity, if you like?
I don't know whether I saw it as an identity in the way that I think you mean. I certainly saw it as a way of proving that you had something which was not dependent on your family, and it was down to you to succeed or fail. So I think I saw that as a degree of independence and a way of being judged for what you did, rather than necessarily being just made even more assumptions about, if you see what I mean.
Yeah. By her early 20s, Princess Anne was one of this country's leading three-day eventers. In 1971, having finished 5th in her first ever badminton, she competed at Burghley for the European Championships.
And here she comes. Yes, she best picked, but she's gone through it brilliantly. Now to the crushed barrier, the last fence. And dutifully over. A marvellous round by Princess Anne on doublet.
Now she had to keep her nerve in front of the very excited crowd.
Really lifted his heels, doublet, this homebred 8-year-old. coming to the water now. She had a foot in the water which ruined her chance for second base at badminton. No chance of in the water this time, coming to the last. Stood right there. A marvellous round by Princess Anne to clinch the individual European Championship in only her second three-day event.
One of the abiding pictures I have is your mother, her face wreathed in smiles. It was a fantastic moment. You could just see how inordinately proud she was then. And I imagine you must have been similarly exhilarated by Zara's victories in the World and the European Championships.
Yes, hers were a lot closer than mine, so it was perhaps even more satisfying in that respect. But the closer you are to it, the more likely you are to either be utterly amazed or thrilled.
Winning is, one of the best feelings in the world, and to have your family there and mum there, being part of it and being able to see you do it makes it much more special.
At the World Championships in Aachen, there was the incident at the start of the show jumping round where Zara didn't hear the bell because it announced that Germany had won the gold medal.
Celebrations in the German camp. They've got team gold. Who is going to win the world individual title?
So all the German crowd were screaming, shouting and saying whooping, and Zara was circling around and around and around waiting for the bell. And Mother was jumping up and down, screaming at the top of her voice, "Start! Just start!"
I'm not sure she's heard the bell. I'm not sure she's heard the bell. She has now.
She did say when I came out, she's like, "Did you not hear me shouting at you?" And I was like, no, not with 50,000 other people.
She's got to jump the last. Is she going to get time for? She's jumped it. She's jumped it. She's done it. She is the world champion at 25 years old.
You are the only member of the royal family ever to have competed in an Olympics so far.
Of this royal family, anyway.
Well, yes, okay. Would you love Zara to make it too?
Although that would be nice. But, I mean, as I keep telling her, she won a European and a World Championships, which, frankly, in terms of standards and achievement, are probably... I would say this because I think it's changed. I think the Olympics are different. But they are a very different competition, and they're nice to have been there. But her successes in terms of the sport are brilliant.
And what are your memories of Montreal? Away from the fall, which we'll talk about in a second, a bit about being an Olympian, about being part of that team, about an extraordinary experience. Anybody who's done it, whether they're a shooter or a hockey player or whatever, say it's an unforgettable experience. What was it for you?
I think that's right. I mean, it is a very unique event, and we certainly marched at the opening, which I sort of feel people don't do quite as much today. But oddly enough, I thought it was the opening ceremony that brought the whole thing to life.
And Princess Anne is, we're told, marching with the team.
And you were mixed up. You were in height ranges. So I was with the ladies' rowing team, rowing 8. It was, I thought, much the most important moment of the Games, really, because it really did identify its uniqueness.
Well, you do remember that, but you don't remember the fall. But
I certainly don't remember the fall. I don't really remember starting cross country, to be honest.
Coming to the 18th fence and all okay. Well, it isn't every day you see the fourth in succession to the British throne going royal head over riding boots. But it did produce some very anxious moments.
When you look at the footage, do you go, "Oh, God, how did I survive that?"
Do you know, I haven't seen it for ages. I can't remember.
Well, let me tell you, the horse goes that way, and you go that way, and there's an almighty crash, and you think, good Lord. Is it right when they put you back on the horse, you had no recollection of completing it?
No, but I don't remember the fall. I actually don't really remember starting. I don't remember anything about that at all.